Hello and welcome back to the only show that couldn't tell you two things about the country of Tunisia, but can definitely tell you one. I'm Max,
I'm Matt.
I'm Luke.
and this is Force for Thought.
That's where they filmed A New Hope.
All right, hello and welcome back. We are dropping an emergency episode because, crisis alert, there was a trailer drop yesterday for the Bad Batch Season 3, the final trailer, and we are super excited about it. I will give one small caveat. Normally, we record these episodes pretty far in advance and kind of schedule them out a little bit. So I will say that the next 2 weeks' episodes, we might mention the Bad Batch, and we're probably going to say something along the lines of, yeah, still haven't heard anything about Bad Batch. That's weird. So
Just
ignore those
retcon
parts.
that,
Yeah.
We could edit that out, but the episode wouldn't make any sense, I don't think.
And most of them are already edited anyways, and we're pretty lazy.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And yeah, it's an emergency episode. Me and Luke were both in our pajamas, and we saw the smoke arise from Max's house, and we ran over.
And I'm still in my pajamas.
If we edited out the next couple weeks episodes, all the mentions of the Bad Batch, it would really take the wind out of the sails too. Because spoilers for one of the weeks, it's looking ahead at 2024, and it's pretty different now than when we recorded
Yes,
it.
I was pretty sure something else was going to be the first thing we saw in. Maybe it was Bad Batch. Did I say that? Man, I don't know. Never mind.
Listen next week.
I don't remember. I don't remember what I said.
No, 2 weeks.
Oh shoot!
All right. Anyway, so we are talking about the Bad Batch Season 3 trailer. We're going to break it down. If you haven't seen it already, make sure you go watch it beforehand because there will be spoiler alerts. And I know what you're thinking. How can there be a spoiler in a trailer? Well, we are going to get to it towards the end. But first, I guess I'll create a good moment for you to pause. All right, welcome back. If you saw the trailer, now we're going to talk about it. So I want to start with the beginning. So we see them driving this ship. That name I'm forgetting right now, but I know it's iconic because it's supposed to be like the only one with wheels in Star Wars. On that mountain, on that narrow road.
Is it an ATTE? No, that one doesn't have wheels. That's still a walker, but 6 legs.
I forget. I think it's some sort of abbreviation like that, though. But I just for a cold opening, I thought it was so cool. It was such a great way to immediately build suspense and kind of cue you in that the stakes are a little bit higher. And one thing that I always focus on for trailers is the dialogue because they can really edit these trailers to say anything that they want. So I feel like the dialogue is always super intentional. So a lot of what I want to focus on is the dialogue. And one of the first lines that we hear...
That's good for a podcast medium, too.
Yeah, it helps. So we're not just describing the visuals.
Right.
So
That's what I was going to say.
the ship, I
Wrecker
think it
jumps
has-
off a cliff, and I don't know if he's going to make it.
The ship, I think, has 8 wheels in total. But anyway, so one of the first lines that they're talking about is Wrecker, I believe, says, "We're running out of road." And I just think that's a really fun way to me is a metaphor for where the clones are in this state of the galaxy and what their future's looking like because they are running out of road. They don't have anything in front of them. They don't know where they're going. And I think that's kind of the point of the story, right? And I think that's a really cool line to include. And I think it was intentionally done so as kind of a little metaphor.
This is why I love the podcast, that we can go full on high school English literature teacher and say like, well, I think their actual meaning was this. When in reality, we have no idea, and I kind of doubt it. I love that we can analyze it and put this meaning on it. I did not get that at all when I watched the trailer, but hearing you say it, I absolutely agree, and that is so poetic, whether it was intentional or not.
As someone who has done this, I can almost guarantee you it was not intentional. I've been in a lot of meetings where it's mostly just obviously these things go through a lot of rounds and stuff too, but I cannot imagine that a lot of this, I think the thing about the trailer, I think, is it's action packed and it actually tells you very little, right? About the story. And as we all know, like, I feel like, Star Wars is something different. So I've never been that close to something like this. So, but yeah, I love that, whether it's intentional or not, I don't think it is. It is very symbolic. And then also beyond that, it's just, you start off with such a bang, especially coming off the heels of more of a bit of a downer season 2 ending. You start season 3 instantly trailer wise to get you back into that action, to get back into that excitement with the crew that's left.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I'm glad that they started with that scene with Fee, the Wanda Sykes character, because it's like, oh, she's still in it. 'Cause I don't dislike her, but she's probably my least favorite part.
Yeah,
Well, season
I'm
2.
glad you brought that up. That's what I was going to say, to push back a little bit, because I feel like that's my evidence for how I know that this was intentional, is because I feel like people aren't clamoring for more Fee content, right? But when she comes in and kind of saves the day a little bit, I feel like her line was also a very metaphorical foreshadowing, where she says, not exactly a stealth exit, boys. Do you think there's any meaning there?
Again, no.
I disagree.
I agree.
If I'm in ninth
You
grade
think this
and
is
I'm
just
given
a
an
random
assignment,
action scene that they were like, okay, that's fun, just include that in there?
Yes.
I think
I
it's
do.
one of the more completed action scenes.
No,
it
they
may,
said
it
the
may not
final-
even be more or less fun than the others. I think it's more complete, though.
I disagree. I think this is all metaphorical and foreshadowing.
I will not take that away from you.
I mean, the trailer is jam packed with a lot of stuff, but yeah, I'm not sure the intro moment is. There's so much more to get to. Go on with it. Go on. Please go on.
So next, we see the clones jumping from the ship whose name we forgot onto Fee's ship, who is saving them.
We are a
And
reliable source.
I just want to point out that there were 3 clones, and I couldn't really make out who the third clone was.
Okay. So, do you think it's Crosshair? Because
In my gut, I feel like it's Echo, but
it makes more sense.
it looked like Tech, and that's
So-
really why I wanted to bring it
Oh,
up.
interesting. I didn't not
No
see the
way.
tech.
Even if
Yeah.
he's in it for just a frame, that would be too major of a spoiler.
I think so, too.
I agree. I don't think they would do that. I don't think they would make that mistake, but go back and rewatch it and tell me who that third clone is. It looks like Tech.
I have not gone frame by frame.
Yeah.
I will say these clones do look alike.
They do indeed. It's a good call, Luke.
They are clones.
Max, did you? I don't want to jump too far ahead. Do you want to go exactly in order of the trailer? Because I had one thing relating to what you're talking about and the fact that you thought it was Tech. Nothing to do with Tech, but do you want to go in order? Should I save it?
I was going to go in order, but
Let's
I
go
mean,
in order.
is
I'll
the-
save it.
Is it the next part?
I don't know when it was.
The next thing I was going to talk about was Rex's dialogue when he said that he thought that the end of the war meant the end to losing more brothers.
Yeah, that's a great line.
No, that was just the beginning.
Yeah.
Who knew it was genocide on the other end of the war? What
Yeah,
a bummer.
I know that is a huge bummer. Man, can you imagine? Like that's a super depressing downer line. Like that's a
know.
great line for this trailer and the great line for the show. And I mean, the Bad Batch feels like a bookend to the Clone Wars in a way, right? It's like this man, did they win the war? Did they lose the war? Was that just the battle? What's
So-
to come?
As he's saying this, we see a flashback shot of
Mhm.
Tech's death.
Yes.
And so, what do you guys think of that? Do you think that this is a period to Tech's death, or do you think that this is a question mark?
I think it's a question mark. I don't think
Whoa.
I still don't think it's confirmed, or I don't think it's permanent. I think it's confirmed, but I don't think it's undoable.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great. I mean, I think that's to tug at the heartstrings as well, for sure. But I don't know.
The whole purpose of the people on Tantus is to experiment on the clones. Why not scoop up the however smashed in body of one of the Clone Force 99 and
Yeah.
experiment on them?
Yeah.
For
I guess that's true. I mean, it makes sense. And also, it feels like, again, I have more top notes than line by line necessary, but it feels like cloning's also a big part. The whole, is Palpatine, starting his cloning process for himself in order to tie into the sequel trilogy? Why does that,
He has to.
I think
right?
definitely, yeah.
why does
I do want to talk about that. Let's
yes,
jump
yes.
ahead real quick because
See,
I'm very
it's
excited
impossible
for that.
not to.
I know. I'm too excited about it. So he says Emperor Palpatine himself
Yes.
says nothing more important to secure the future of the Empire. And
Which
he
is
basically says
himself?
whatever you need
Yeah.
to accomplish this mission, whatever resources you need, you will have it.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that that's coming top down from the
Yes,
Emperor
yeah.
says that this is pointing to him and his experiments with cloning and his final order and his return in The Rise of Skywalker.
And there also seems to be a lot of mirroring with Thrawn too. Do you see that when all those crates are there? It looks like the ending of Ahsoka when Thrawn's walking through the Grand Hall and you have all these crates around him as well. And I'm like, is that? I mean, that also could go mirroring with Thrawn and him cloning and him understanding this I don't know, this potential order and trying to replicate it himself or something. I can't tell. It just feels like there's a lot of implications.
Where were the crates? I don't remember the crates you're talking
It's
about.
when after Palpatine says that line, we get a bird's eye view shot of him walking through, and there's a bunch of crates around him.
Interesting.
I kind of remember that, but
Or
I did not get
Coffins?
Thrawn vibes. But now that I'm thinking about it, what's the timeline line up on the Thrawn books? Do you know? He's in the Empire by now. It's pretty immediately after, I guess. Maybe
Mhm.
or no, because he was in the Republic. But did he take a sabbatical between the Republic and the Empire? I don't
Well,
remember that.
It all hinges on a pretty big question, which is what is the timeline for this TV show? That's the next thing I wanted to talk about.
Yes,
because
further.
Hunter has a line where he says Omega's been waiting for us for a long time.
Yes.
Is there a
Which-
time jump?
I think there is. Omega looks slightly older, but I mean, within a
Does she? I
calendar
couldn't
year,
tell.
I think it's just also like, every year it's like, oh, new armor, slightly new designs. And I think it's just like, oh, within a year time, which also then begs the question of like, man, it's a bit of a bummer to be like, what's going on with Crosshair? What's going on with her? They meet clearly. In my mind, you would try to escape instantly, but obviously they've been here for a minute, which is so dark and depressing. What are the other people doing? They need to get Omega out. Which brings me to one point real quick. I don't know when it is in the trailer. I want to say it before I forget. When you see a shot of Wrecker and Hunter, and they have their guns raised, right? And you don't see the third person, intentionally cropped out. But it's clearly Crosshair's rifle, correct?
Yes.
Is it? But okay, so
I think I saw online that you could see Crosshair once or twice in this trailer.
interesting. Okay, so it's just the rifle shot. It's like they purposely crossed him out. And I'm wondering, is that actually him or is it just his rifle? Because part of me thinks that Crosshair will sacrifice himself never to return to his brothers, but he knows that if he sacrifices himself, Omega then can be with the Bad Batch. Whether he gets...
Do you think Omega gets the upgrade and is wielding the big
I don't know
sniper?
if
that'd
she...
be so
That would be
cool.
cool. I just got goosebumps thinking about it.
Well, to
That
be
energy
fair,
bow's not that dissimilar from a sniper rifle.
it's not, but the height difference in that shot is. So unless it's like a 10-year jump and she is significantly taller,
She's standing on a crate.
she could be standing
she
on a
knows
crate.
to get the high ground.
I was just thinking that maybe potentially she brings it back to the crew so they can have his weapon and potentially gives it to Echo because he's the only person that's not in that shot. Obviously within the core, the core, or it could be Tech who wields it because he doesn't necessarily have a gun. Besides, he usually uses the pistol. I feel like so he doesn't really have a gun. So if he is back somehow, right? Don't think that's going to happen, but I feel like somebody's going to have that. Because I don't know if Crosshair's actually going to reunite with his brothers being a good guy. I think his act might be saving Omega in order for Omega to go back. Because he also, to be fair, right? I don't know if he deserves to fully go back and be fully redeemed. He's going to die either way. That's a given. But whether it's before he's with his brothers or whether his sacrifice is to make Omega get to them.
I think he'll see his brothers again.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I like everything that you just said so much, and it totally contradicts like a lot of the notes that I had. But I'm like, oh, that would be so good though.
What do you I want to know your notes too.
Sorry,
It's so hard to go top level and also go
I know.
line by line.
I know. I had that in my notes that you definitely see a sniper rifle in that shot where
Yes.
Hunter says, "We're not big on following orders."
Yeah.
But because he's delivering that line, I like, oh, give me the wider shot with Crosshair there too. I feel like he's got to be there to deliver that with Hunter, you know?
Yeah.
Because now he's like a turncoat basically, and
That sounds like a good Postmates after hours tagline.
We're not good at following orders.
Delivering orders.
did I say delivering? Is that what it's?
No, it's following.
orders? Oh, okay. Either way,
You ever
it still
order
works for
something too late though and
Postmates.
never comes? You're like, guess that's gone now.
No, I haven't. That would be frustrating as hell.
This note just says Cad Bane's sick.
And to be fair, yeah. And
Uh-huh.
Fennec Shan, we get Fennec Shan, we get
Is
Cad
Fennec
Bane.
Shan in it? I didn't
She's
notice
Yeah.
the
Fennec
character
Shan.
right before Cad Bane.
Oh my god.
Yes, we get Fennec Shan, we get Cad Bane.
Commander Wolf.
Yes, we get Wolf.
Fennec Shand, she was already in Bad Batch, wasn't she? Wasn't she in the second season?
I think
or was she in the
first
first?
season.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like they took the trailer from season 2 of the Bad Batch and were like, everyone loved the shot of Gunji and Commander Cody, which high level, they aren't the most exciting characters, but
No.
just seeing them for the first time is super exciting. And they wanted to really crank that up for the season 3 trailer. And they sure did. Because, I mean, we could have done with just, we haven't talked about her yet, but the big cameo at the end or reveal and
Let's wait.
character return. But they the fact that they included Fennec Shand and Cad Bane and
Yep.
Commander Wolf, it's like I'm almost overwhelmed. I'm surprised they didn't save more of that.
It also is funny that they showed just like the Kaminoans in the middle of that. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not really as exciting though.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay.
Fennec Shand, Cad Bane, Lama Sue.
Yes. But I think, oh man, I was just gonna say something about what you were just talking about. Oh, it sounds like they're gonna have a bunch of, which sounds great. It sounds like John Wick at the end of John Wick 2, I think maybe the whole right? Everybody turns on him. I think I don't remember. John Wick's very average
I only
movies
saw
to
the
me.
first John Wick.
Yeah,
I
John
haven't
Wick.
seen
I
any
think
of
the
them.
first one's great. Everyone loves them. I think they're very average. The 2 and 3, but I haven't seen 4. I've been trying to. It's not on any streaming services, I don't think. But at the end of that, all these assassins are going to go after John Wick, and it kind of feels like what's going on within the Empire. Like, it seems like let's kill the Bad Batch. Like, let's get them. And so by having Fennec Shan, I'm not sure if she's actually against them. We see her sitting at a table. That could just be, that could be fake, right? That could be a false move in the trailer's part.
Yeah.
Cad Bane clearly feels like, that could be one episode, but it'd be really nice if while Bad Batch is trying to do their missions, they're also getting hunted by bounty hunters, and presumably it culminates at the end where, Crosshair, they're trying to get Omega, Crosshair's there as well. All these bounty hunters are trying to get them.
I'm trying
Sounds
to
great.
remember the Fennec Shand episode in the first season, because I don't think they were really adversaries then either. Wasn't she working with the Kaminoans to help Omega, and Cad Bane was working with the Empire to steal Omega?
Yes, I believe so. But then
So I doubt if they weren't even adversaries the first time that Fennec Shand would be their adversary this time.
But she's a gun for hire, so
Yeah, she is.
that's the biggest thing.
Was Cad Bane working for the Empire at that time? Because he makes that big point in the book of
Boba
Boba
Fett,
Fett about
yeah.
how he's a coward for having worked with the Empire.
I don't think it is the Empire, is it?
Here we are even talking about Bad Batch, and we don't know. I'd have to rewatch.
Emergency episode 0. We saw the smoke and ran.
He must have been working for the Empire, though, because he was stealing Omega for them. Maybe he was stealing Omega for a secret person.
Yeah,
He
I
didn't know
don't
who
think
it
it was the Empire specifically, because
It might have just been a hooded person that
I
wanted Omega.
I feel like there is a line in there that, they have to, obviously, with cross-referencing, and they're making sure their backs are covered. It has to be.
Well,
It's been a minute since season 1
yeah.
that I've seen it.
We have to go back and watch that, obviously. to
And we
find
are.
out. But
Sometime.
that was a question that I had because, like I said, he made that big point in the book of Boba Fett about how he's a coward for having worked with the Empire. So I'm like, oh, Cad Bane. Obviously, he's not working for the Empire. He's teaming up with the Bad Batch. And I was like, oh, there's a combo I'm dying to see.
Well, this is still the early days of the Empire when no one knows how bad they are. Also,
Unless there's a time jump.
It's
We don't
basically
know.
still working with the Republic.
Yeah.
Which brings up, do we think, I just had the thought as I was talking about all the cameos and appearances that they didn't save for us to see on TV for the first time, do we think maybe Boba Fett will be in this then? And that'll be like the big reveal that we didn't know we were getting.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about
I
that.
would love to see 13-year-old Boba Fett get his armor, fight Omega or something. Because he's just as involved as Omega, because that's the whole plot of the show, is that she's a unreplicated
Do you think
clone like a
he'll
Boba.
get shot by Cad Bane in this, and that's how, and they'll retcon it kind of?
Yes.
I feels like, okay, so top level real quick. The reason Bad Batch is ending, I saw a lot of comments like, it's not ending, it's not canceled. People, they're just, the story's finished. And not that I beg to differ, but I think there's a combination where the story has ended, but clearly within Lucasfilm, they're like, okay, Dave Filoni, you have to go do other stuff. Bad Batch is no longer the priority. We're doing movies, we're doing bigger stuff, we're doing live action. Bad Batch, no offense, we should end this, right? And so I think it is a combination where he's on to bigger and better things. I don't think it's not canceled, but I don't think I think the story could have continued. With that being said, this feels like one last hurrah for Dave Filoni to be able to include anything and everything that he's wanted to do in animation, because I don't know the next time we'll see a Filoni, semi-led, Filoni-created animated show. And so I feel like if we wanted to see Boba Fett get shot in his helmet by Cad Bane, this would be it.
Yeah.
We know
That's
Cad
true.
Bane's here. Like you said, we don't know the age when Boba Fett got his helmet, damaged.
There were deleted scenes from the Clone
Exactly,
Wars that
but-
they could adapt for this.
Exactly. I was say it's not canon technically, right? So, but like if they just redid that,
Mhm.
it's easy peasy. I mean, it's something that they obviously thought about back in the day, and I feel like perfect time to be able to bring it into this new light.
Man, that is such a great call, Matthew. I didn't think about that at all, but I would absolutely love that. Because you're right. And I feel like they're always trying to bring in like all of these ideas that Dave and George had for the Clone Wars back into canon that they didn't get to finish. I mean, like season 7 of the Clone Wars, they literally brought it back in kind of like a rushed, I don't want to call it a rush job, but they only included 3 story arcs when I think they had a lot more planned, including this one. Because there are, I think you can look it up on YouTube. It's not a deleted scene. I don't know if it's considered like previs or something, but it was like concept art.
Yeah, it's
But like with slight motion.
It's an
to it.
animatic.
An animatic.
Yeah.
animatic.
Yeah.
And it's rad.
It is good.
I want to see it.
I would also like some Boba Fett content I mean, just in general, but also in terms of this story being an unreplicated clone of Django that they need to continue the cloning process.
It feels...
Also, do you think we're going to get any more information on how Omega is a girl? No one ever seems to talk about that. But
that was like the big cliffhanger at the end of season 2.
Well, she's also got a sister, too.
She had a sister, yeah. So there's another
that's
female
right.
clone.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
I know.
We probably will.
Season 2 was great, wasn't it? There's so
Yeah.
many things. Like, how do we forget about that? Like, because you're so focused on Crosshair and stuff. You're like, my God. Season 2 is stellar.
It's that girl with like the
goggles.
Goggles.
Yeah,
with
they're cool as
computer
hell.
lenses in them.
Which I would have a seizure if I wore those.
Right.
I wouldn't see a single thing. Like flashing lights and stuff. My God.
Why are there girl clones? What does that mean? I'm so
know.
intrigued.
I know.
Only a few months.
I think that argument that you're saying, though, is so silly. Like, it's not ending, it's just finishing or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, you're making a distinction without a difference. Like,
Yes.
the show's ending.
Yeah. And it's also like, you don't have knowledge of that.
Yeah.
Me sitting here, we can theorize all we want. Listen to the next week's episode. Listen to the week after that's episode. But I also think
We've been wrong a lot lately.
Exactly. And so that's why a lot of the things we say are just we're theorizing. We don't know 100%. Max is saying that this trailer is very done intentional. I don't necessarily think so, but the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, right? With most of these things. And I'm never going to be like, this show was canceled. It's like, no, it's, again, it's...
Mm-hmm.
It's not unless you're in that room, unless you're in that company. We honestly, being within Lucasfilm, people probably don't really know. It's just top level, you know.
Let me say this. If you think I'm looking too far into it by thinking some of these quotes are metaphors that aren't really there, let me introduce you to the Star Wars fandom, because it's all about overanalyzing and trying to apply reason and meaning behind these things that just absolutely didn't at the time. I don't have any examples off the top of my head. Feel like that was a really good way to tee it up, but I'll think of one later.
Sorry, I was looking at my notes and I could have helped you out, but I completely was just zoning out. Like, Max has got this.
I'm also blanking, but yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. It's fun to overanalyze and stuff, and that's why I tried to not yuck your yum when I was saying that. That I'm glad you found this deeper meaning that I did not.
Overanalyzing, like when in Last Jedi trailer, when you think Yoda's on top of the stack of rocks.
Yes.
That
turns out it was just rocks.
Turns out just rocks.
I remember that so clearly. Everyone was zooming in like, that's definitely Yoda on
it
there,
has
right?
to be. I'm still not convinced it isn't. He's in the movie.
The Last Jedi did some kind of stealth editing where they did they actually remove stuff or did they just cut stuff together that made it deceiving? There's other examples, a lot of Marvel examples, but
I haven't mentioned Marvel in a couple of weeks.
I know, we're due, right? But I feel like this was definitely one that was edited a little tricky, like when you were talking about the sniper rifle in the shot with Hunter. There's a couple parts in the trailer where I'm like, oh, this is a cropped. This is cropped.
Yes.
I need to see the zoomed out.
Do you think that we're just going to be like gun raised, and then that shot like in its entirety?
Yeah.
Man, that'd be really cool.
Ahsoka shows up in the extra wide angle with her lightsabers.
Boba Fett and Cad
Bring 'em all.
Bane. Now with a mutual respect between them.
It's just the Civil War poster for Marvel. Bringing it back.
That's funny. Let's talk about another cameo, and you guys might need to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Commander Cody...
Talk about Asajj.
Was in season 2, and I don't remember where his story ended, but I think we're going to see Cody again in 3, because I'm assuming that's the clone that we saw twice in the trailer, because there's one clone that says that they are coming for all of you, and I thought it was Crosshair, but it looks like it cuts to the one who's saying it, and it's definitely not Crosshair.
I don't think it's Cody either, but it was someone intentional. And then is that the same clone or person that had that sick armor like right after that?
Yes, I was wondering the same thing.
It was
that
all
is
black.
Yes.
It looked super cool.
Yeah,
it might be. I didn't think about that being the same person, but there is another clone that we see later. Again, we don't know who it is. I think it's maybe Cody, who has like a giant flamethrower.
Yeah, I think I didn't think anything of that shot. I think the flamethrower might have been the cool part of that shot.
It was the cool part of that shot, but I'm like, who's holding that?
It's
an unarmored clone.
The flamethrower guy from season 2. I can't think of his name.
There's a flamethrower guy in season 2?
Is there not?
If there is, then it's probably him. So don't listen to me.
What the hell? Is there, maybe I'm mistaken.
Like when? What was he doing?
I can't remember.
Don't just say
huge
burning
stuff.
Yes, he wasn't a huge. I'm gonna Google it. Riff.
Oh my god! I've been watching season 2 of The Bad Batch over the last week too, and that's why I should remember where Cody's story ended, because he was only in that one episode with Crosshair, and I'm pretty sure they both come to like the same conclusion that Empire sucks, but we're stuck in it. And then Crosshair has a second solo episode with Mayday on that snowy planet with the ice vultures, and then we haven't seen Cody again since.
He was on that planet with the ice vultures? Where that other clone died and then Crosshair killed
was.
the...
No, Cody wasn't.
Oh, Crosshair. I thought you were saying Cody. Never mind.
No, it was just Crosshair and Mayday.
Yeah. Oh, man. This is such terrible timing. Well, speaking of recording these well in advance, we just scheduled our Bad Batch Season 2 review to be recorded in a couple of weeks. So, like, we all literally just started our rewatch. I know I only watched the first 2 episodes, and now I'm like, damn it, I wish I watched all of it already.
Yeah, I fall asleep watching it today. I got to go back and rewatch all those now.
Is it not? Maybe it's not a flamethrower. I feel like his name was Torches or something. It's not.
Seems pretty on the nose.
Some of them are on the nose.
Yeah.
Let's not act like
I don't remember.
Tech is,
and
200 IQ.
All right, the Bad Batch is definitely on the nose, but the rest are relatively random. You don't see Waxer and Boyle walking around.
Maybe I'm just thinking of Mayday. I don't remember. Doesn't matter.
All right. Well,
who's that clone from? If I don't remember, I'm sure you guys won't either. But from season 1,
no, but you're correct.
we just had this conversation.
No, he's right. We all know our positions.
It was Hauser, clone Captain Hauser. You remember him from season 1? I think he was on Ryloth with Hera.
He has that pretty blue color.
He did, and he was really cool. And I hope we see him again.
That's the only way I can describe it.
No,
It was like a
that's
teal.
accurate. It was a very pretty blue.
Yeah, I know. I remember Hauser.
And
yes.
fans, notice that when every time a ship is mentioned, no one asks me what the ship was called.
I keep waiting for you to talk about their ship. Their ship was the Havoc Marauder.
It's called the Havoc Marauder? I thought it was just called the Marauder.
Pretty sure it's the Havoc Marauder. Is the Havoc something else?
I don't know. This is, I think, the first time
Man.
I'm hearing the word Havoc.
I wish we had a video going because Luke just did a great side eye. When we start doing video, let's make sure we get a Luca side eye cam.
We'll buy a 4th camera just for my side eye over my shoulder.
So that he can jim the camera every 10 minutes. There is a shot of the Marauder, maybe also known as the Havoc Marauder, crashed, which I thought was a cool shot. I didn't really look too far into that, though, because it's like, their ship
Crashes all the time.
Yeah.
It's always down. It's animation. It's like, unless they blow it up again, they get an N1.
It wasn't blown up, though. It was definitely crashed, which is why I'm like, okay, well, like, they survived that crash. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, it's the Havoc Marauder.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so interesting. I did not know that. I thought it was just the Marauder.
That's been the ship they've been flying since their arc in the Clone Wars, right? Because I'm betting that there's going to be a moment when, if you don't think Crosshair will come back, I think he will, and they're going to be like, oh, we kept your armor and your gun in your room, and it's still there for you, and he'll open the door, and it'll be there, and then he'll come out wearing it.
You don't think they would repurpose the room? I feel like that's like when a kid moves to college, the parents are like, well, free room now.
That's true, and there was that episode where Omega didn't have a room, and they made her one, so... although I could also see them not repurposing it out of respect for Crosshair. So I don't know.
Oh, man, that's bad. Man.
That would be a really funny shot, though, if Crosshair, who's like the most stoic, like depressing down person, comes in and they're like, oh, where's my stuff? And he's like, oh, well, it's in that room. And he opens it up and it's just filled with like a bunch of like stuffed animals and stuff. It's like, sorry, we had to give it to the girl.
That's the jacket room.
She does have a stuffed animal, too.
Yeah, Wrecker gives it to her, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then that brings us to the big thing that we wanted to talk about that's killing
Our
Luke.
Force for thought. That's the end of the episode.
Spoiler if you haven't seen it already, but Asajj Ventress returns.
Yep.
I don't believe it.
We see Asajj Ventress. She is wielding a yellow lightsaber, and Luke and I have been wanting to talk about it all day because we're just trying to think about what happened in Dark Disciple. I'm pretty sure... So, spoiler alert as well for Dark Disciple, if you haven't read it. Dark Disciple is another book that's also based on unused ideas for the Clone Wars. And it incorporated a story with Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress where they were basically hired by the Jedi Council to assassinate Count Dooku. It's a really dark story, but it's really good, and I highly recommend it. And it's really loved by the fans, which is why I find it hard to believe that they're going to completely... I take that back. They're not going to retcon it. But in the book, Asajj Ventress does die.
Yeah, I went back to reread it to see if it was like implied death, because I did read it, but the book came out in 2013, so it's been a minute. And in Star Wars... even when you're dead, you're not exactly dead. And I wanted to see like how dead she was. She was dead. She gets force lightninged by Count Dooku, and then
after already sustaining very severe wounds.
The whole book is basically a love story between her and Quinlan Vos, and she dies in his arms, and it's super sad. And he like feels the life go out of her, and then her body is like prepared for burial in the outfit that was meaningful to him, and then they take her to Dathomir and bury her with the other Night Sisters, and they like put her in some black goo that was a Night Sister thing. So she is 100% dead. But when I first saw the trailer, I ran upstairs and told my wife, and I was like, "Oh my God, Hannah, the Bad Batch trailer just came out, and Asajj Ventress is in it, even though she's dead now."
And Hannah said, "I am in the middle of a meeting," and all of my coworkers just heard that.
No, Hannah said, she just shrugged her shoulders and she's like, "Oh, is she a ghost?" And I was like, well, probably, but it's so much more complicated than that.
She wasn't a Force ghost, though. No, I think she definitely looked like a physical being, but I mean, this is where I wanted to talk, Matt, when you were talking about Thrawn before. Yeah. I think there's definitely something going on at Lucasfilm where they're like, hey, I got a lot of content here involving Dathomir and the Night Sisters that we can incorporate. And given that was the last we saw Asajj Ventress being buried in her home planet of Dathomir, something, again, about bringing the dead back to life is happening.
Oh, you know what? I bet Dave Filoni was writing Ahsoka and was like, all right, and then Thrawn comes back, takes the Great Mothers to Dathomir, and revives all of the Night Sisters. And someone was like, oh shit, so Asajj Ventress too? And he was like, no, she got revived earlier and she's not going to be part of this.
Yeah, because that's like his baby, right? I mean, that's another one of a Dave Filoni original creation.
Yeah.
The Dathomir in general, or Asajj Ventress?
No, Asajj Ventress, because she's original to the Clone
as far as I know.
I'm sure we'll get a cold open explaining how she's alive, and then we'll be left on the cliffhanger until a couple episodes later. But yeah, that is something I did know. Then how she gets her yellow lightsaber and stuff too, which is like a big like live action reveal too, which is super rad. And also like her clothes are rad. She has a haircut. Like what's going on? Like
So it's not that they're retconning or completely ignoring Dark Disciple, because Brad Rau, the supervising director of the Bad Batch, talked about it on the announcement on StarWars.com that he's not spoiling anything, but they are not ignoring Dark Disciple. Do you have the direct quote?
I have it right here. So he says, quote, "We love Asajj Ventress. She's a character that we've been wanting to tell more stories about." Brad Rau, supervising director and one of the executive producers of the series, tells StarWars.com, and he makes clear that her return will honor prior tales, including the book in which the character apparently perished. And then quotes begin again. "We don't want to spoil anything, but want fans to know that any new storytelling with Ventress will align with the events of Star Wars Dark Disciple."
That is very important that he said that, because that completely changed my entire tone coming into this podcast episode. So it's not like Darth Maul where he's presumed pretty darn dead. I think she is literally absolutely dead, and she's going to be brought back to life.
I think so too, and I think that's going to play into everything going on right now with Thrawn.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it from the Thrawn angle, but that's so interesting. But I also can't.
And everything with the cloning too. It's all pointing to one direction. It's all coming together.
I just can't stop thinking about the Quinlan Vos angle of it, because on the one hand, it kind of frustrates me that Quinlan Vos had such a good character arc, and that the book Dark Disciple was so good, and I just can't believe we're getting more Asajj Ventress content before more Quinlan Vos content.
We don't know that
she's the one that died.
We don't know that.
As we might be getting Quinlan Vos. The Asajj content already.
Yeah, also, that's confirmed.
Even if they come out in the Bad Batch in the same episode, I'm still saying that Asajj came first because of the trailer. But like, he's got to be part of it, because Asajj, she gave up her bounty hunting. Well, she didn't give up her bounty hunting. She was still a bounty hunter, but her whole personal motivation was no longer the Sith or Dooku. She hated the Jedi. She was just all about Quinlan Vos, and she just wanted to be with him. And now she's going to be brought back to life, and that's got to be her first move, is to go find him. She can't just do something else. It would be like bringing Palpatine back and have him not be the Emperor. Like, have him just go back to Naboo and check out his childhood home. Like, you got to continue the story if you're bringing back a character.
Yeah. And they say that it will align. And again, Matt and I always talk about some throwaway lines from Kenobi, but they talk about Quinlan Vos and the fact that there had to have been so much conversation at Lucasfilm about this decision to bring Asajj Ventress back. You know, Quinlan Vos's name was talked about. Maybe we don't see him, but they have to have a plan for him at this point.
Yeah.
I don't want to beat a dead horse. The Quinlan Vos line in Kenobi is more of a throwaway line that was premeditated in terms of canon implications. The Obi-Wan's brother was just some character development for Obi-Wan.
I'm not talking about Obi-Wan's brother.
That's damn well what you were talking about throwaway lines.
I may have invoked the sentiment, but we're not talking about Obi-Wan's obviously alive and doing well, probably Force-sensitive brother.
That's true, which you will hear more about in my Rogue One in February.
Oh, baby.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I just thought that would get a bigger reaction from you.
As soon as you announce it, I'm gonna be like, I have a counter Rogue One on why he's not.
We're gonna push that one. We're gonna push that one.
But yeah, I mean, they have to be. Quinlan Voss's name is being thrown around. They're talking about it. Something's coming up. Maybe we do see Quinlan in this show. Maybe because there was a lot of reveals in the trailer. Maybe we didn't see everything. Maybe we did. Who knows? We're not going to know, obviously, until we watch the series. But I think it's going to be amazing. I have very high hopes for it.
I know. It's when they were making the Clone Wars, they pitched it and presented it as like a story about the clones. But let's be real. The best part is the Jedi. And when they did the Bad Batch, I thought even more so, like, oh, no more Jedi because of Order 66, so this is going to be really just about clones. But all of the best episodes are still the ones with Jedi.
I mean, it begins with Kanan.
Exactly. And I feel like the creators of the Bad Batch recognize that the Jedi are the coolest part of Star Wars or the era or whatever, what have you, and they're not going to stop including them. And if they're bringing back Asajj, I don't see why they won't bring back Quinlan, but I just still can't believe they're bringing back Asajj. That is going to be so interesting.
I'm glad that you said that about the first episode involving Kanan, because I think that was a big part of why Brad Rao came out with a statement immediately upon releasing the trailer, because the first scenes where you see Kanan, then Caleb Doom with his master Depa Billaba?
Yeah.
It's different than how we've already seen it in comics. We actually already got Order 66 from their perspective in the comics, and it was totally different. So this was kind of retcon. And at the time, a lot of people were kind of not really upset, but they pointed it out. They were like, this is definitely not the same what's happening here. And I feel like that's why Brad Rao, for this one, had to come out and be like, hold on. We're sticking to canon. Don't worry. Everything in Dark Disciple is still kosher.
You're saying a lot of fans, but you're talking to me. I was pretty pissed about that one because the story overall was pretty similar. Like, it could be, you could look at it as an adaptation, like the episode with Ahsoka in Tales of the Jedi and the Ahsoka book. It's like, it could be the same if you squint, but Depa Billaba's lightsaber was green in the comics and blue in the Bad Batch, and that's what pissed me off, because that's not, that's a deliberate choice. That's just saying, like, hey, you read this comic? I hate you for reading it, so change everything about it. That's what made me mad. I don't think, and they didn't do that with Asajj Ventress. It seems like they are keeping her in line with the book.
We'll see. I'm very excited. Those were all my notes. Do you guys have anything else that we didn't talk about?
Episode titles.
Yes. Do we get episode titles?
Yes, baby.
Oh my god!
I was wondering if we were going to talk about them because you sent us the episode dates, but that didn't have the titles in them.
Yeah, I saw that text, but I didn't see that.
Do you want to go through them? I'll go through them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I won't look it up. I'll experience it here for the first time.
So we can
the
talk.
Last one's going to take your breath away.
It will take your breath away.
I'm so excited.
With that being said, I think we can also theorize a little bit if we wanted to, whether it's now, whether it's later, about what's going to happen. And I assume a lot of these are pretty poignant, I guess. So episode 1 is Confined. Episode 2, Paths Unknown. Episode 3, Shadows of Tantus. Episode 4, A Different Approach.
I got to stop you. There's already so much to unpack. So the first episode is Confined. So I think
it's going to be a bottle episode.
That's going to be a Crosshair Omega episode.
Yeah, they're going to be talking about that. I want to know. Super excited for.
Yes, same.
And they're releasing 3 episodes the first day. So similar to how we talked about before.
Think about that. What were the first 3 episodes?
Confined, Paths Unknown, and The Shadows of Tantus.
Shadows of Tantus? Yeah, that's got to be like, I think it's going to be like one story arc, I think, right?
Yep. I think it makes sense. It's going to leave you on a cliffhanger and be like, is it going to... Paths Unknown, like, I assume it's not going to just be, again, first episode sounds like Omega and Crosshair. Then we're probably going to go into the Bad Batch, and then the Shadows of Tantus, I don't know. Is it going to be...
that's where they kind of come together and they start to break them out? And
Shadows of Tantus? Are we going to see a little bit of Asajj then?
Tantus is where Omega and Crosshair is. That's the location.
Is it a planet or is it a city?
It's a mountain, Mount Tantus in Legends, and I'm pretty sure in canon, because it was in the original, the first Thrawn trilogy. That's where they did the cloning. It was on Mount Tantus.
I did not realize that's consistent with the Thrawn trilogy.
The planet is Wayland, actually, which is also the planet in Star Wars Legacy that they started the Ossus project on, that I went rogue about last month or the month before.
Fun.
So a lot of history with this planet and mountain. So it's Mount Tantus on the planet Wayland, and that's what they're talking about in the episode.
I pulled up the dates of the schedule because I wanted to follow along as you were saying this. Okay, so the next episode, 4th episode, what's that one?
A Different Approach.
Ooh.
That's episode 4 in February 28th. Then we get episode 5, The Return. Who's returning?
Ooh, that might be Asajj, maybe Tech.
Maybe
It could be anyone.
it's going to be Asajj, but I
Crosshair
think
joins the gang again.
Crosshair,
there's so
Omega,
many options.
Cad
I don't know.
Bane.
well, I don't think it's going to be
Wolf,
Crosshair
Cody.
joins the gang. Spoiler, because I think in a couple episodes we'll get a clear vision of when they're going to join.
6 and 7 are released together. What are those?
Speaking of 6, infiltration, and 7 is extraction. We can all assume
in and
that's
out week.
that's all we can assume. That's Omega and Crosshair. So who's the return will be Asajj.
Speaking of in and out,
Yeah.
are we gonna get some food for these? For
Oh
the show?
God! Don't even tempt
tease
me
me
with
with
in and out. I know. God damn it!
Maybe our listeners on the West Coast, they could get it.
Hey, listeners on the West Coast, please send us. I miss it dearly.
Double animal style.
Yes. Ooh, with some chopped chili peppers if you can. Make it a little spicy. Anyway, episode 8, Bad Territory. Episode 9, The Harbinger.
Harbinger.
Thank you.
And then episodes 10 and 11 are together, apparently.
10 and 11 together, which is Identity Crisis and Point of No Return.
Oh, that's got to be Crosshair. That's Crosshair coming back, right?
I don't know, man.
That could
I
be
think
the clones also finally
Yeah.
abandoning the Empire. It could
I
be the
think-
Clone Revolution.
I think
Oh, yeah. I meant to say that earlier because in that line where he says that clone that we don't know who it is, maybe Cody, he says they're coming for all of us. Who's he talking to? Yeah, I think there's going to be a clone uprising. That might be
makes
where
sense.
it is.
And also, realistically, Extraction, I think that's when Crosshair's going to die. Even if he's with them for a minute, I think he'll die there. And
to get Omega out.
even if he go,
That's
even
so
if he
early, dude.
reunites
It's
him,
like halfway through the season.
exactly, it's gonna be like Kanan when he dies in episode 12 out of like 15 or 17,
Yeah,
or no,
but-
he dies in 10, I think, right?
I don't know their episode numbers.
It's like,
off the top of
man.
my head, but that would be similar to that, and it
Yeah.
would be just as emotionally
Yes,
effective.
because then it's like that arc is done, and then the clone uprising is the second half of the season.
It was the same episode, but also Tech's death happened very early in the episode. I remember
Yeah.
he died, and then there was like 10 more minutes worth of episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
That
not
was
the
rough.
same, but
Anyway, episode 12, the Juggernaut. Just Juggernaut. There's no the. Drop it like the Facebook. Episode 13, Into the Breach. Episode 14, Flash Strike. And episode 15, The Cavalry Has Arrived. It's a good one.
The cavalry has arrived.
That was the
It's a
first
good
thing
one.
we heard the Bad Batch say in the
That's
trailer
what
for
Wrecker
Clone
says,
Wars
right?
Season 7.
hmm
Oh man,
And
what does
then-
that mean? Is that the clone uprising?
We also
But
get
how's a clone uprising going to end? It's obviously not going to end on a good note. They're not going to win.
Yeah, it's an L for sure.
we also get this teaser poster, which is the final season of the Bad Batch. It's got Hunter's battle worn helmet on it.
I need that
It's
poster.
interesting. They have not released the other helmets to me.
What do
it's
you
a-
mean released?
Well, they only release this one poster, and it's usually they can release a batch. Like, oh, here's Wrecker's helmet, battle worn. Here's Echo's. It's just very odd they just released one. It's not like usually it's a group set, so it's like, well, I can imagine what like Wrecker's helmet's going to look like.
Maybe it'll be a more
the same way, you know.
I guess it probably will be a more Hunter-centric season because we talked about in our review that Hunter was most of our favorite clones, or at least top 2 in season 1, and then in season 2 he was most of our least favorite or
Yeah.
bottom 2. So he's due for another
Glow
big
up.
season. Yeah,
Yeah.
glow up.
He's going to glow up.
Yeah, and with Tech gone, who I feel like was pretty close to, pretty high up on all of our lists.
Yep. Number one, baby.
A lot of shoes to fill now.
It is, and I also think, like Luke, you were talking about the Jedi being the best part of Clone Wars, and it's obviously very true. It's just fun. It's like I think the Bad Batch works so well because everybody is very specifically identified as somebody. Where I think the clones in general, the whole point of them is it's not supposed to be. So the show does a really good job of being like distinguishing them, but it's a very hard task, obviously, because most of them are just the same people,
Mhm.
basically. I mean, obviously they look the same. They're not the same people personality wise, but man, do I love the Bad Batch being able to break them out into that.
The Bad Batch themselves, obviously, D. Bradley Baker does the voice different for
Yeah.
those characters. But every time a new clone is introduced, I try to listen for what he's doing different because I know I've like heard him talk that he tries to do something different for every clone, and that's a fun side mission while you're watching Clone Wars.
It's even a more of a fun thing if he just says that and doesn't do it.
He's credited in
now
the.
I'm the English lit teacher.
I remember the first time I saw where he was credited just as the voice of the Bad Batch.
Yes.
It took me a second. I was like, wow. Yeah, there really is just one guy, isn't it? Doing
Mhm.
all those different voices. That's crazy. You think he gets paid 5 times as much?
I was just going to say,
I don't know.
probably just does it at home now.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. I'm so glad that I knew those episode titles. I did not see that earlier.
Yes.
This was super exciting for me. Is there anything else that we're missing that either of you two want to talk about?
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, and I think and then the last episode will premiere right as my son is born, or right around the time. So that's going to be really interesting, getting all those texts and being like, oh my God. And it'll be probably a couple days.
Everyone's texting you congratulations, and you're just watching the Bad Batch in the hospital room, swiping a notification away.
I know, text alive, text alive.
Got to go on airplane mode, get on Wi-Fi.
Oh man, if Tech does live
Do
though,
not disturb.
and our son is born that week, I mean, it has to be the middle name.
That's a good name, Tech. Could be worse.
That is pretty good.
It's not gonna happen.
Way too early bold predictions. What do you guys think?
I think the first 3 episodes is going to be the Ahsoka, Omega and Crosshair battle episode, then the Bad Batch battle episode, then the third one will be them intermixed. I think Gregor, we're going to get the Rex and Gregor and Wolf exile, whatever, retirement, whatever you want to call it, on that planet with the big bug things that we saw in Rebels. I think we'll get that. I think Omega will live. I think Hunter will live. I think Crosshair's definitely dead. I think Echo will live too.
I think Echo's the only one
Why
that's
wouldn't
gonna
we
live.
have seen Echo in Rebels though?
Because
He's doing something else. I don't know.
He already joined with Rex at the end of season 2 in Bad Batch.
Bold prediction.
They joined with Rex to do the clone uprising and to help clones, and that is well and done by the time of Rebels. That's not what Rex is doing anymore. Maybe Rex leaves Echo, and Echo keeps fighting the fight.
That's
and
why
Rex goes and retires. That's kind of lame, though.
I think
hope
Rex
not.
would die. No,
Rex doesn't die.
nope, he does not die. As he said that. But bold prediction, I think that originally I thought they were all just gonna die, but the way the trailer sets it up, obviously with this uprising and also just like getting Omega, and it feels like it's going in a bit of a different direction than I originally thought. I think bigger picture, I think we'll end up seeing Omega in live action, and I think we'll end up getting, they're gonna set that stuff up, especially with Asajj Ventress, especially with Quinlan Vos. I think, like you said, those names will be kicked around, so they're clearly setting something up for something different. Whether it's a new animated show that will involve this, or whether it's going to be put in live action, I can see some of these characters transferring over. Just like, Bad Batch started in Clone Wars, and then we kind of had, once again, it's like Frasier and Cheers, and then going Frasier to his solo, his spin-off show. So it's like, I mean, as that, you know what? That's not as funny, because I make a very elaborate, I think, thing about Frasier in like next week. But this is the setup. Maybe in 2 weeks from now. Maybe in 3, who knows? But
Depends how many more emergency episodes we have.
Yeah, we'll see. If the Acolyte trailer drops tomorrow, this week's gonna be stacked.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We can't do that many emergency episodes. I can't look outside that often to see the smoke. And so yeah, I think ultimately they're gonna have a bit of a phase where it's like, even if Echo and Omega can go fight the fight, and I think we'll see Omega eventually in live action, and this will be setting up those characters for live action debut, or it'll set them up for another animated show.
I don't want to troll you, Max, but I think we're not that far off from a Knights of the Hidden Path animated series.
I was just about to bring it back up,
could
and
see
now
it.
we can add Asajj Ventress to that list.
Yeah,
Yep, exactly.
She would fit right in.
It would be rad.
And we're due for another animated series.
Mhm.
I would rather it be in the sequel era, or maybe even the original trilogy era. I'm surprised we haven't gotten an animated series in the original.
That
in the
surprises
original
me,
trilogy
because you
era.
said everything is in that era. And
Everything
you like
is in that era, and now
What do you consider to be the original trilogy era? Post A New Hope?
with Luke and Han somehow,
Oh, okay.
and Leia. But that's what I was just about to say, because now we're basically in the original trilogy era, and we just took the long way there, all the way through the end of the Clone Wars. And so the next show, if it does pick up after the Bad Batch, will be in essentially the original trilogy era, the reign of the Empire.
You don't want to see like Han, Luke, and Leia, though, right? You want to see that era, but different characters, or would you want to see them?
I would want to see them. I wouldn't anymore, because now the comics have scratched that itch so thoroughly.
Sure.
But I'm just surprised we didn't. And like, people always say like, oh, but you'd have to recast even as just a voice. But they did that with the Clone Wars with all the prequel trilogy characters, and it wasn't a problem.
Did you guys see the Indiana Jones trailer for the new game? Something Circle. Can't remember what it's called. Oh my god, I can't think of his name. The guy who did Uncharted and stuff.
Mark Wahlberg.
Nathan Drake?
Yeah, the guy who plays Nathan Drake. Tom
Holland.
Damn it. No. I just watched Uncharted last week. It's fun, but it does not feel like Uncharted to me. I can't think of his name. Troy Baker? That sounds correct, maybe? It's not.
I'm not gonna get it.
The guy, big voice actor guy, he is doing the voice of Indiana Jones, and he sounds just like Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
There could be some AI modulator there going on, but he sounds really good. So they could absolutely do that if they wanted to.
I don't want them to move on from this era because the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch have been so good, but I feel like every time they announce it, I'm a little bit surprised. Like, I don't really remember in 2008 when they announced the Clone Wars movie, but everyone was like, oh, that makes sense. And they're like, okay, and then we're making it a TV show. And it's like, oh, all right. And then it just kept going for 6 seasons. And then they were like, all right, we're bringing back the Clone Wars season 7. And everyone was like, oh, okay, good. And then they're like, all right, now we're doing it again. We're bringing in the Bad Batch, and that's going to go for 3 seasons. And I have, similar to what I just said about the comics and the original trilogy, this itch has been thoroughly scratched. Let's explore something new with the next animated series.
I feel like you were underplaying the reaction to Clone Wars Season 7, though.
I mean, I loved it.
There was hype for that.
There was, and they did Rebels and Resistance in between then, but no one liked Resistance, and Rebels was relatively short, and I guess now it's continuing in live action, so it's still going. But
it's also Troy Baker, and he did not do Uncharted. I don't know what I'm thinking.
All right. Well, our producer's waving us on, so we're going to move on to our Force for Thought. Does anyone have any Force for Thought for today?
I do have Force for Thought. Stop me if I've done this before, because I have talked about this on my blog back when I was just the Kit Fisto Manifesto before we had a podcast. But the Boonta Eve classic.
Well, no, we did the joke with Boonta Eve.
Young Annie wins the Boonta Eve classic, and that is just ridiculous. He is a 9-year-old local boy. I mean, they are professional pod racers, and they're announcing them all, and it's a big fanfare, and then Fode and Beat are just like, and Young Annie, a local boy. That is like if an Amish guy rolled up to the Kentucky Derby with a donkey and won.
You know what it's like?
It is unbelievable.
It's like if you took a video game player from Gran Turismo and put him in real life. But that actually happened, so fuck us, I guess. I don't know. What a shitty movie also.
I didn't see that movie.
You're telling me that Anakin should have placed behind Dud Bolt?
He should have placed behind any of them. He built his pod in his garage with slave wage scraps.
That is true.
It is beyond.
Man,
he built his pod in a cave.
When you say it like that, like what an underdog story, though.
It is an underdog story. Just imagine the turmoil in the gambling circles around Mos Espa that week. No one bet on him. There's going to be riots. They're going to eat the rich that day.
Yeah. No wonder why they took his mom. Just like.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Watto probably sold her because she was making everyone mad at him. She was
Literally.
like, oh, she's the mom of the kid that lost me all my... I bet my mortgage on that Anakin would at least lose that race.
Also, I always think about that. They just leave the mom in slavery. Like I know it's like against their code presumably, but it's like, yeah, I'd steal her away. Like what a weird thing to be like.
They have a tracking beacon in them actually, and if you leave, then they blow you up. Boom.
The mom?
No way. That is way too dark. Did you just make that up?
No, that's a line from Phantom Menace. What are you guys talking about? That's exactly how it works.
The slaves?
Yeah, Anakin, when they're eating dinner, Anakin says that he's been working on a way to find his. And then Padme says, I can't believe that slavery... Have you guys seen this movie?
Can you imagine? Can you
feel that
you're blowing my mind right now.
Hang on.
I feel like it's a Bizarro world.
Can you imagine if that's how Return of the Jedi ended? He just randomly blows up and you had to wait until Phantom Menace to find out why?
Some 200-year-old person still bitter about losing that one bet.
Yep.
Because they put all their money on Dud Bolt is like, no, fuck this
It's
guy.
Watto's deathbed. Can we also announce what we're going to do in May now? This is a perfect lead-in. Which
Yeah,
we'll
I was just
figure
going
out.
to say,
Yeah.
you guys clearly need to watch The Phantom Menace again. We should have a whole month dedicated to it.
Which we're doing this May for the 25th anniversary of Phantom Menace.
Yeah, if you're going to take a few months off, don't take off May because it's all about The Phantom Menace.
Yes. So that's, give us a Phantom Menace some props, and we're gonna find out. We're gonna dig deep into a lot of this stuff, and we'll have some fun stuff coming up for that.
Yeah, and forget about my Force for Thought from today because I'm gonna bring it up again in May when you guys have actually seen the movie because that is a very fun Force for Thought.
Yeah, I do have a couple obvious things to point out. One, Anakin is Force sensitive, but there's also a big theory that Qui-Gon was also manipulating the game by using the Force as well.
Nah, he's too straight and narrow.
Classics.
Qui-Gon?
Classic Professor Quirrell in Harry Potter during the Quidditch game.
Yeah, exactly like that, basically.
No, that'd be illegal. Qui-Gon would never.
All right. Well, let us know what you think. Let us know what you're excited for about the Bad Batch. Let us know what some of your predictions are. You can follow us on social media at Force for Thought across just about everything. And you can email us. Shoot us an email with some thoughts as well at forceforthought@gmail.com. And let us know what you think.
It makes our day.
I don't want to pressure you about the emails, but we do have a segment now about once a month called Fan Comments. And we record Thursday, and we don't have any yet. So,
Well,
hit us up.
I think we have a couple.
We just got one tonight, yeah.
No, we got a lot of emails. A lot of people.
Oh, yeah. High demand. A lot of people are tuning in.
Our producer must be shielding them from me.
See you, Sammy.